83% of Trump supporters think that FEMA is giving their funds to illegal immigrants. And that is not true. And yet 83% believe it. So I want to talk broadly about why it is so incredibly challenging to fact check Donald Trump and why it doesn't work. So let me tell you, back in 2016, I was working at the Washington Post, and lots of people would come up to me on the street after Trump won, and they would say something like, why didn't you guys fact check him? And I would always say, okay, we did. Give me your email address. You know, I'm not a weirdo. Give me your email address. I will send you 10 times that I fact checked him, and I will send you 50 times the Washington Post fact checker, a guy named Glenn Kessler, fact checked him. Because what they were really asking, and I've realized this over time, and this is coming up again and again as we get closer and closer to this election, what they were really asking was not, why didn't you fact check him, but why didn't the fact checking change people's minds, right? That was the root of it, is why, when it was proven that what Donald Trump was saying was false, why didn't it matter to people? And I think that conversation is worth talking about now, 22 days before the election, because Trump has always said things that aren't true. It accelerated during his presidency. He started saying a few things a day that weren't true. By the end, he was saying like 30 plus things a day that weren't true. And that's only continued to grow since he became the Republican nominee for president in 2024 and as we've gotten closer to the election. I mean, whether it's Venezuelans are taking over Aurora, Colorado, and regular people who live there can't get services. Not true. By the way, the Republican mayor of the city says it's not true. Whether it's people in Springfield, Ohio, are eating their pets, again, not true according to local officials. Or whether it's the FEMA is diverting all their money to undocumented immigrants, again, not true. His lies are getting exponentially bigger at this point, right? He's just going bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And people, a significant chunk of people are believing it. So I want to talk about two metaphors that I think are useful when it comes to understanding how to fact check Donald Trump and why it's virtually impossible. The first one is the one I always use, which is, there's an episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns, the sort of crotchety billionaire in the town of Springfield, goes to the doctor for a checkup. And the doctor comes out, and Mr. Burns says something like, oh, I guess I got a clean bill of health. And the doctor says, actually, you have every disease known to man, including a few we've never heard of before. And so Mr. Burns says, well, why then don't I feel so terrible? And the doctor says, well, we call it Three Stooges syndrome. All of the things, all of the different diseases you have are wedging, trying to get through the door of your body, and they've wedged themselves in so none can get through. You know that Three Stooges where they're all trying to walk through the door? Wise guy, eh? And so therefore you're actually healthy because all the diseases are blocked. I think of that when I think of Trump. He lies so often. He says so many things that are outrageously not true and easily provably false that they all kind of sort of block the door. And no one gets through. Like, just imagine if Kamala Harris said, in Springfield, Ohio, they're eating pets. Haitian immigrants are eating pets. Well, she fudges the facts from time to time. She hedges things to make it look better for her, but she's nowhere near Donald Trump when it comes to saying things that aren't true. If she said something that outlandishly false and provably false, it would be a gigantic deal. They would try to run her off the ticket, right? But for Trump, they all wedge together. And that's the issue. So that's metaphor number one. Metaphor number two. This is from Chuck Todd via Steve Hayes, who's a wonderful guy. He used to be at National Review and is now at The Dispatch. Chuck told me this morning on this conversation I had on my Substack with him, that fact-checking Trump is like cleaning up after a dog with diarrhea. You got to do it, but at some point, it sort of becomes useless. And that's the issue. I love that one because we are fact-checking Trump. The problem is, you know who reads those fact checks? You know who watches this? People who already are a part of the sort of rational community, of political watchers or people who are going to vote, right? They are not part of the Trump base. They are not watching these videos. Unfortunately, I wish they were. They are not reading my Substack or the Washington Post or the New York Times or CNN. They're not in that world. The people who are reading those fact checks are people who already know that Donald Trump is lying. The issue is the people who don't. They either don't care or don't believe that there are objective facts, right? We go all the way back to Kellyanne Conway saying alternative facts in the early days of the Trump administration. She actually said that to Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. So that's the issue. The fact checks don't reach the people who are the ones that need the fact checking. And that doesn't change their mind, even if it did, because Trump has effectively disqualified the media as an objective source of information. So that's the problem that we have. Donald Trump is the most fact-checked president in American history. There's no debate about that. No debate. There's way more fact checks. The Washington Post calculated every single false or misleading thing he said in office. Every single one. It was over 30,000 in 4 years. They've never done that with any other president. And the reason for that is because no other president has lied and misled as much as Donald Trump. It's not even close. I mean, it's not even close. So he's the most fact-checked president in American history. The issue that people have, I go back to where I started, the issue is why doesn't that change things? And so number one, it's those people who believe whatever he says are not reading or watching people like me. And number two, even if they were, we're part of the fake news media, right? Trump has effectively disqualified us. They're not interested in our facts, even though I would say those are just plain old facts, but they're not interested in our facts. They're interested in what he has to say. They actually are eating their pets in Springfield. Aurora, Colorado was overrun by Venezuelans. The media, they are just not telling the story. Only Trump is shining a light on this story. FEMA money is being diverted in large numbers to undocumented immigrants. You know, that's the problem. They have created a separate reality. They have zero interest in having that reality checked in any meaningful way. They want the world to be as Donald Trump says the world is. They don't want fact-checking. They are not interested in fact-checking. They have their own alternative facts. And that's why fact-checking Donald Trump is so frustrating. And for people who say, if the media just fact-checked Donald Trump, we'd never be in this situation, you're wrong. I don't know what else to tell you. You're wrong. The media, go back and look. The media has fact-checked Donald Trump over and over and over and over again. The issue is it hasn't changed the minds of lots of people who support him. And I would argue it's probably hardened their support for him because it reinforces their belief that the media is out to get him, which again is ridiculous, but that's what they think. So I just ask you to think about that in these final 3 weeks of the campaign. The media has fact-checked Donald Trump. That it hasn't worked is about human nature and what the Trump supporters want, as opposed to what the media is doing or not doing effectively. Okay, 4 things. 1, subscribe to this channel, please. Number 2, like this video. Number 3, comment on the video. Do it for the algorithm. And number 4, tell 10 friends about this channel. We're growing, people. I'm always excited. I make 4 videos a week, Monday through Thursday. On Friday, I do a live stream where you can ask me anything for an hour. 1 p.m. Fridays. Bookmark it. All right, see you tomorrow.